welcome everybody to another episode of Mac Yak. So say hi, everybody.
Hello,
Hi, everybody.
This is episode number 41. I checked our subs today. We are now at 333 subs.
Ooh. Yay!
So
crazy.
we're getting about
Speaking
four
of subs, you guys, if you aren't subbed to Steve yet, go sub to him. He's in close to 1,000.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we need some of your 1,000 to come over and sub over here.
I
keep
keep
repeating
getting
it.
close to 5,000. So if you want to sub to me too,
There you go.
Well, then you need to start sitting there putting people from your channel over to ours.
I've been trying to. Have you not
Free
been
subs
looking
all around.
Free subs all around. Is this Subway or are we talking Quiznos?
No, Subway sucks, man. No, Subway sucks. You want Jimmy John's?
I'm glad we're hitting the hard topics here at Mac.
Yeah, yeah. Jimmy John's is a pretty good sub sandwich place. So yeah, there we go. We're starting to get some viewers in here. We got Skit Fit, Ben Fitzpatrick,
Oh, hey, what's up, Skit?
Grammy Cooper. Some new names here I haven't
got
seen. Mark Hyde.
Same here.
Skit's somebody I know.
Ah, okay. I
Yeah.
haven't seen
He's
Brock
cool.
yet.
I
I
think-
talked to him yesterday. He said he was going to be on tonight. So
Well, we keep plugging the heck out of it. Someone's going to
yeah.
come.
Yeah,
Well, he's always watching me on
more
Twitch.
people
So.
isn't showing up.
He watches me more on Twitch than he probably watches us on Mac Yak. So. But speaking of which, though, I did talk to Brock. He did say he is going to start trying to do flashing video cards. He's going to start trying to get into that.
Oh,
He
that'll be
Good
interesting.
luck to
He
him.
wants to try to put Mac vid cards out of business.
I wouldn't be against him doing an attempt
Healthy
at that.
competition is always a good
Well, I think one of his
Yeah,
biggest
exactly.
issues with Mac vid cards is he actually sent them a video card, and it took them 3 weeks before they even got to it and got it back to him. So he was kind of a little
Oh, jeez.
yeah.
Bad turnaround.
Oh yeah, the turnaround was just awful, and the prices he charged is just ridiculous too. So
Oof.
I know that's not even a
Well,
topic tonight, but
maybe not put out of business. I mean, the people that have used him are obviously happy with his service. He does a good job, apparently, but a little competition might drive the prices down and
Well,
get the turnaround time up.
that's what I'm thinking. If he could do it for cheaper and a quicker turnaround time, that'll either force MacVid cards to actually reduce their prices and actually get off their butt and actually do their job.
Yeah.
That was my whole beef about it is that, they got a business doing flash and video cards, but yet they want to take their time doing it.
Yeah.
That's not good business practice.
Hey, Brock should also do videos on it while he's doing it, like along the process of him figuring out the method he wants to use.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I tried
Video
to do that.
1 through 10
Well,
is how he
in
blew up
fact,
a card.
I told him I'm going to send him this card right here. It's a 5770 to play with because it's not flashed yet. So I said, hell, I'll send you this if you want. You can flash it, see if you can get it flashed, and
Yeah, it'd be cool.
I was going to follow your advice, Rocky, and do a video. And I had, some ATI Radeon for a PC. I was going to flash it for the G5. Literally took me 8 hours to figure out which version of the stupid flasher on the PC to flash it to. And finally got it working. It was not worth the effort. So,
Yeah, it's way too complicated. I once flashed a 4770, and it was supposed to be the specific ROM for that specific card, and it must not have flashed correctly because after I flashed it, even though it had the boot screens that worked in Mac and stuff, it wouldn't work in boot camp, and it would overheat and crash all the time because
Excellent.
something had screwed up the temperature.
Nice.
did you
controls.
bleed on it? That's probably the reason why it didn't work. You didn't bleed on it.
he was
I think he
frozen.
froze, yeah.
He's froze.
I like
this
this expression he has there. Yeah, that
Froze?
expression was great.
were.
You were.
Yeah, you froze up. Right after he asked you if you're bleeding, you froze up.
I asked if you bled on it or not, and then you froze.
Yeah, I heard the whole conversation.
But we didn't hear you reply.
I just lost everybody's video except you, Greg.
Huh.
Oh, now everybody's back.
Yeah,
Skype
there
is a
you go.
mess.
Okay, now we can blame Microsoft because this is a Skype issue.
Yeah.
I
No
haven't
longer
had any
pleased, but
issues
you
so
can see my
far.
scar.
Yeah.
Scratch or whatever.
All right, guys. So we got a bunch of topics to get through tonight. So let's go ahead. I guess we could jump in our first topic tonight. Do you guys name your computers? I actually have named mine recently. I know that Rocky has always named his, so we'll start with Rocky first on this one.
Yes, I do. Every single computer that I use on a regular basis has a nickname. I don't know. It just says every car I've ever owned. It's just, it's a personal fun thing. My Mac Pro, as many from today know, is Toru from an anime. But I actually had a voting on the name of my Mac Pro. So, yeah.
How did you get to vote on it? What did you do? Put it on
Remember?
Facebook?
It was on Facebook. Yeah,
Oh,
it
I
was
don't
on
remember
Facebook.
that. Sorry.
Everybody was voting. Yeah, I had
I
a
remember that.
big vote of it. You don't remember it either?
No.
I will have to dig that poll up. I did a poll on Facebook.
And you
in
know
one
what's
of the
funny
Mac
is we
groups.
probably voted on it, just don't remember it.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
Oh.
That's great.
Well, I've got several computers, and like Rocky, I actually did name mine. Mine are actually all named around the Hobbit series. So the computer I'm streaming on right now, which is my Mac Pro, is Bilbo Baggins. Okay, and if you know the Hobbit, you know who Bilbo Baggins is.
Yeah.
My 2017 iMac is called Legolas. Okay, he is the elf in the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And then my 2009 iMac is Frodo Baggins. So that's my three that I actually have named. I have some laptops, stuff like that. I haven't really named anything yet. So, but that's my three main computers.
Well, I have a lot of names. I try to name every computer I have to keep track of them.
Lord have mercy. How do you remember all those names?
Spreadsheets.
Mac Tracker.
Honestly, I actually do tend to remember them, believe it or not. But I also have Mac Tracker, which makes it easier. And currently in Mac Tracker,
You cheat.
I have like 75 Macs probably right now. But I've got 60 in Mac Tracker right now. Each one of them has a custom name on it. And I've got the whole list right here in front of me. I basically just come up with a name on the fly. I'm feeling whatever just pops up in my head at the time, and I go with it. And I've got many different, from naming them from different TV shows or just after serials and a whole lot of other things. Like I named one of my clamshells Frankenberry.
Frankenberry.
I've got
Just don't eat it.
so the clamshell that was on Crazy Ken's show was iClam G4, and I've got ones like some of them aren't very creative, like J Intel and JG5, which are just
Rocky, what are you doing?
Yeah, it sounds like you're.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like all we hear is crumpling.
But that was just like 2 iMacs that Jay gave me, and I just didn't come up with anything better.
Boy, that was
So I went
original
with-
J iMac.
And I've got like Hack Mac, Twisted Mac, my mangled 2.1 Mac Pro. I named the Twisted Mac because how twisted it was. I've got a lot of other ones. Like one of them I named Harry.
Was it actually
I
Harry?
No, I named it Harry after the original owner. He was
Oh, I heard Carrie because you bled on it.
And he froze. Oh.
fine artist, and he bought that thing new.
And he froze again.
Yeah, and Steve just dropped on my end.
Yep, I saw Steve
Oh.
drop
He
too.
dropped on mine too. And then I've got other ones like Old Smoky, which is one that Mike Stanhope gave me, and it's very smoky. It's a computer, but it's a fitting name. And then I've got other ones like Rack Mac Attack and a bunch of other things. Like my cube, I named it Cubert.
I like that name.
And Steve's back.
And I just have a long list of random names that I named them.
Oh.
So, yeah, I name mine all the time.
I don't think Jay names his. Do you, Jay? He's like, it's my 4,1, my 5,1, my MDD.
I named the computer the actual model name or the function it has. I'll refer to it as my 2012 Mac Pro or my 2012 MacBook Pro or Flex server, basement server, work server.
See, Jay's just has no
I'm not gonna
imagination.
Yeah, because I don't watch any of the shows that apparently inspires people to name their computers.
You watch X-Files. You couldn't name something X-File?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna name my Mac Pro
Then Mulder.
Scully.
There you go.
No,
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
no, I keep it simple.
Trying to read the chat here. Some of the guys. Mike says his is Paul, Ringo, John, and George. Okay, he named them after the Beatles, huh? Oh man,
Easy to remember.
true. Londo says his is named after NASA programs, robots. Most of the rest are Star Trek or Babylon 5 theme, which we know Jay has never watched Star Trek in his life. So yeah.
Never.
What about you, Steve?
I don't. I really didn't name my computers for the longest time.
He has
but
200 of them. He can name
wait. Let me finish No, I used to not name my computers, but the problem is if you have similar models on the network, especially by default, they're all going to be Steven's Mac Pro, Steven's Mac Pro, Steven's Mac Pro, and they conflict with each other. So I started simply by just adding in brackets the year of the server or the model or whatever the heck it was. So I'd have like Mac Pro 2008, Mac Pro 2009, etc. A few years ago, I got 3 PC towers that were just Optiplex Dells, just these little thingies, identical. They had numbers pasted on the front of it. So I'm like, oh, that's dumb. Why did this guy name them? And I realized, oh, he probably had like a dozen of them, and he needed to know which one was which. Yeah. So I named those 3. They were running a 32-bit video frame. What's the right term for it? It was a frame processing engine. It was just basically looking for duplicates of things. So I named them Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles after the old Sega games because awesome. That was easy to remember. And really, I really didn't name anything else. But the earliest, I was thinking about this topic, the earliest thing I could think about was hard drive names. And so my dad used to work as an art director in New York years and years ago. And I remember he got a hard drive that he brought home that was like they were going to toss out. It was too small or whatever. And I remember he put it in the computer and like the partitions loaded up. And one was Monster, the big red monster from the Looney Tunes cartoons. You know, he had the big hunch shape. Like one was named Riker, William Riker from Star Trek Next Generation. Yep. And one was Picard of the same show, but it had, you know, like the 32 pixel icons of these characters. So I thought that was interesting. You know, people named their hard drives, which I guess was a thing also. But yeah, I don't really name them too much, but as long as I could identify them on the network, I'm happy. So,
and that's the reason why. That's exactly the reason why I started naming mine, because the names are so similar, you know. And I was sitting there looking like, okay, which computer am I accessing here? Oh, this one. So the naming convention actually allows you to actually see, oh, okay, that's that one, that one, you know, as long as you remember which names they are, you know.
That also reminds me of another thing. My dad used to name computers on the network at his office too, and the main server was named HAL 9000.
Oh,
that's fantastic. I love that.
I can't do that.
So he'd always be like, I need to access HAL and stuff like this.
The best thing that I ever saw naming wise at my old office was someone would bring in a Wi-Fi hotspot because they wanted to surf the internet, but not, on the office network. But if for whatever reason they couldn't password protect it, like their phone or their hotspot didn't have that capability, so they had to name it something that nobody would connect to. So when you set up a network printer for the first time and it's named like HP Office Jet or whatever, nobody connects to that because they know it's that's just garbage. It's not the internet. That's what he did. He named his that, and nobody caught on at all. And so one time, the IT guys were up and they're like, "Yeah, we're trying to test this printer. We're connecting to HP Office Jet and it's not working. Oh, that Wi-Fi address doesn't work." Like they didn't even know. It was great.
That's good. That's funny.
Alrighty. So as we beat this one into the ground, or are we ready to move on? Or
how did we all
checking the chat as well?
I was checking it. I mean, Londo has got a lot of names there. He's got a lot of NASA names.
That's pretty cool. Keeping with the theme,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
mine bounce all over the place.
Well, yours are all anime, though.
They named the servers after Star Wars.
No. Not all anime.
So I'm going to name my computers now. It's all going to be X-Files names.
Scully,
Yes,
Mulder.
do
The
it.
truth is out there.
Mulder 1, Mulder 2, Mulder 3.
No, he's going to put Scully.
Scully 1, Scully 2.
She was a lot better than Mulder.
Oh, that reminds
John
me.
Scully.
My most recent Mac, I bought a 1,1 MacBook Pro, the 32-bit CPU model. I named it Y2K38.
Well, what's funny is you ever see some people when they name their Wi-Fi networks, they'll put on there like FBI surveillance van or
That's a good one. Yeah.
I actually find one of my cars.
Yeah, people get nervous when they see that. Like where I live at here, I live in a townhouse complex, so it's basically nothing but Wi-Fi all over the place. So I see like about 30 or 40 different Wi-Fi networks, and some of the names. There's one that's actually it's called the Death Star. one of the network names.
One of my brothers is "You Need Internet."
or should name it "Get Your Own Damn Internet."
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that. Somebody's used that around
I used to
in
do
Wichita.
that when I went to visit friends in New York City, and that you pick up so many networks that you have to keep scrolling in the menu.
Oh yeah.
And I would just, I'd be sitting on the couch. It was at night. I was bored. And I would just connect the random ones in the browser, and I would just walk right in with the default credentials, and I would start messing with the network names. And
I used to do that at my grandparents because they didn't have internet. So I'd have my clamshell iBook, and I'd just be pinging, "Oh, can I get into Linksys? Can I get into D-Link?" Just like by default. And I wouldn't change anything because I wanted it to still work, but that's funny.
It is funny, yeah. Oh, man. So, question now. Jay had challenged me to do this, but I'm not going to do it on the show live. He was talking about testing your UPS. And he challenged me to pull the plug while the show's going on, and I said no.
I have no recollection of that challenge.
You told me.
Sounds like something I would say.
In fact, I'll go find it. It's in the text chat here. So the thing is that basically what Jay is talking about is you need to test it. Make sure that your UPS actually does work for what it was intended for, which is to keep your computer up and running for at least 5 to 10 minutes or whatever, so you can actually gently shut it down. I know some UPSs have a serial port or a USB where it'll actually send a signal to the software and it'll actually shut down for you if it does get if it does go on battery.
Yep.
I don't have any that do that, so unfortunately, if mine goes out while I'm not here, then it's basically going to run out of power and shut down hard anyway. So
I need one with the ADB switch. That's what
Dude, that'd be bad. That'd be awesome.
No, that is the whole point. It's I mean, if you're home, you can catch it. But if you're not home, you want your Mac to shut down gracefully, save whatever documents you got, and, just power down best way you can. Um, Buying a UPS to keep your Mac up and running as long as possible can get very costly because you have to power your Mac, your displays, your network, everything to stay functional. So you need like a server grade 10 by 10. It's not
Well,
really doable.
usually
I need one of those.
if your power goes out in your neighborhood, let's say your whole neighborhood goes out, usually your internet's probably going to go out too, because usually the nodes are connected to that, and sometimes those go out.
Yeah, and it's
Now, what
I
does
keep them around. I have one for my Mac Pro, which is no longer sufficient. If I lose power even for 10 seconds, it's like it starts beeping, beep, and before I can react, just click, everything is off because it's just not powerful enough to power all this stuff on my desk. But I have one for the servers. Even the Unreal Tournament server has its own UPS. The network. All that stuff. Because typically power outages here are a couple of seconds where you just get hammered with brownouts and you hear tick, 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 tick. Your UPS is freaking out. You catch it all. Or we are out.
Well, didn't you have a UPS where you fried the batteries on it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I get all my UPSs, and unfortunately, not proud of this, but I keep a virtual machine around with Windows.
What? Jay, what? Whoa, whoa. All right, everybody clip
Yep.
that and make sure you save it, because Jay says he runs Windows.
Because you can only configure the UPS in Windows to do a sensitivity to the highest. I turn off the beeping noise when I don't forget, and I tweak it, and they don't make software for Mac because they keep saying, "Oh, it's built into Mac OS." And, yeah, okay, where are all the features? They're not there. So I configured them to be very, very sensitive to even the lowest power spike or dip or whatever. So I think it was a couple of months ago. It just, in a span of 2 minutes, I think the power company reported they had like 150 spikes come through the line, and it completely destroyed 2 of my UPS boxes. But the Macs were fine, so they did their job.
Yep. That's all you need, is to make sure it does its job of filtering the power enough that the spikes don't get through.
Yeah, and the UPS is an expendable product. If your UPS fries and everything else is fine, the UPS did its job. So,
Give it a proper
yeah,
burial.
you
Huh?
want to test it. You can, over the years, you might have the same UPS. It's just sitting there. You never have a problem. Everything works. Over the years, you just keep plugging stuff into it. Oh, I'm out of outlets. You put a power strip on it, plug more stuff into there. And it might be 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, and you've never tested it, but you need to know what it's capable of. The battery is probably shot by now. So you gotta back up all your stuff and then pull the plug, see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I have this problem that I've been using UPSs that my dad had laying around from.
And he froze again.
He's the only one that's freezing.
We need to snap that picture. We need to snap a picture of that expression.
I'm getting some weird connection things once in a while, but I think it's my internet. I don't think it's you guys.
I haven't had a problem with anybody yet.
I already snapped the screenshot. Don't worry. I was gonna say I don't have a UPS. I want to get one. But what was interesting that I noted was 2003. I think it was the summer of 2003. There was a huge blackout in the Northeast. I think it stretched all the way up towards Canada and Ohio and other places like that. So it was pretty widespread. But I was rocking my G3 mini tower at the time with the Apple multi-sync 17-inch display. And the blackout happened. The monitor went off like that. But even though the power went off completely and then back on, that G3 never shut down. So whatever was in that power supply, like the capacitors to keep that thing running, it did not shut off. And I was like, oh my God.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I saved my work right away and shut it down. But
everything anyway, as I was getting to and it is weird. Even though I froze, you guys stayed on. So,
Huh.
but what I'm using the ones from Dad's old office, and what he did is he had bought Chinese replacement batteries, which
Ooh.
work for
That
like
can
one
be
use.
I thought you were
iffy.
going to say OWC.
Yeah, they work for like one
Same
use. And they weren't even powerful enough to power my computers in the first place. Basically, I use them as giant surge protectors because they can't power worth a crap even when the batteries work right. But they work great as surge protectors, and they can usually keep the systems running long enough for a brownout or two, if I'm lucky. But other than that, I really need more powerful UPSs, like really more powerful, because none of my systems can run on them at full tilt.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna get a small one just for my modem and my network attached storage unit, but I don't need anything too big. I don't think. Hopefully.
Yeah.
How do the ones with the USB port work? Does it like send a signal and then the system auto
Yeah,
shuts down? Or
there's
No.
software built in that you have to add that it will monitor, and what it does is if the USB sends a signal to the computer, and the computer through the app will shut itself
Oh.
down gracefully. It's supposed
No,
to.
it's not a
built into
signal.
macOS.
It's what?
It's built into macOS. You don't need an app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the USB isn't a signal that it sends. It's actually a communication between it. It acts as a device because it does have an actual board, and
Yeah.
it sends information back and forth.
Yeah.
Same
which
thing.
It
I
communicates
shows
regularly
up
with it.
in, like my Mac Pro has the same battery indicator that you would see on a laptop. I have the battery. It says 100% because it'll just see it as your Mac having a battery.
Interesting.
So it's pretty sweet. And if you have, I think Mike said it earlier in the chat, if your UPS doesn't have that USB capability, for a computer, it's pretty much useless. Toss it out. And I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Things I do when I get a UPS is I always forget to program them, and I didn't even know you could disable the buzzer or beeper in them. So what I do is I open them up and I snap the beeper off.
Oh,
Because I
Way to
used to
go,
have so many
brute force method.
brownouts where I used to live that I'd hear those things beep about 3 times a week, and sometimes it'd be in the middle of the week.
Well, you
Night
do
would
live in
wake
West
up.
Virginia, so
Yeah.
the power there is.
Yeah. Coal keeps the lights on. Bull.
Well, they say it keeps the lights on in the rest of the country. It doesn't keep them on in West Virginia.
Exactly.
yeah. There's an asterisk in that tagline.
Exactly.
Like Mike just said in the chat, it tells the Mac that you're basically on battery power, and it'll shut the machine down when the battery gets low, and you get to decide in the settings if you want to shut down after you've been an X amount of minutes on UPS power, if the battery drops below a certain percentage, and all that stuff.
But here's the thing, though, is that if you haven't tested your UPS lately, and you've had it for a couple of years, the battery in there is probably not going to hold very long. So
Yeah.
it might say full charge on there, but once you pull that plug, it may just go straight out because
Just like an old iBook,
Yep.
might say 100% on the battery. You
Yeah.
unplug it. Oops.
And unlike the Mac, there's no calibrating the batteries in your UPS. Those things are just,
they're basically little
once they
small,
die, they're done.
like motorcycle batteries is all they are. They're little,
Some of them.
they're gel, like,
Nice pants, Greg.
they're gel batteries.
Well, depends on which ones you get. If you get the older APCs that were the early first ones, like the APC 1000, 1500s, that were the business class, metal case, good ones, those suckers come in a chunk. It's one big battery.
Yeah, and those
And I think that one's like a nickel cadmium or something like that. It's one of those that if you let it only go down a certain bit and then you charge it back up, it would have that memory issue.
well, a lot of them are
But
gel cells.
Those are great.
because you have to have the UPS up a certain way. You can't like lay it on its side or, some weird way. It has to be, with up facing up, because a gel cell
Yeah, some of them.
only works when it's right side up. Because the gel cell, basically, if you have it upside down, then all the gel goes to the top of the battery, and it's not as effective. It's not covering all the plates in there. So That's the reason why you have to have certain UPSs. Like the ones I have gel cell batteries because it says have it in this orientation
Wow.
only. You know, you don't want to lay it down flat because then you're laying it down and the gel cells, the gel kind of goes to one side of the battery.
Mike is saying
Oh, I
most
didn't know
of the
that.
UPSs on the market use lead acid batteries
Mhm.
like a car. They need to be discharged and recharged to maintain reliability.
Yep.
I've never
Interesting.
found that when my batteries drain completely, after the first time where a power spike hits and I use the batteries, they're never quite the same after that. So I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
never
was,
get as much runtime from them as I do the first time.
Yeah.
It was a video I saw on YouTube. This channel, Technology Connections, he's pretty good. He goes into a lot of detail about some stuff. He did a setup. Yeah, he did a setup with lead acid batteries as a battery backup, just as like a test thing for, I think it was his parents or something. I'll link the video in the chat, but it was interesting because he basically just like bought batteries off the shelf and like used an inverter or whatever and set it up. Now, of course, he keeps saying like how this is just for testing or whatever, and it's just for his needs, not ideal or whatever. But it's interesting to see what you could sort of get away with.
Yep.
You didn't lose me.
Okay.
I'm just here. I have to communicate with my child.
Okay.
Say hi to the
Communicate
spawn.
with your child.
Well, I don't necessarily want to just spout her name off on stream.
Oh, anyways, so preferred brands. I know, what was it? APS,
APC is my
APC.
favorite.
As one.
APC.
Yeah.
I'm using Cyber Power. I have Cyber Power brand that I'm using. They're decent. They don't.
I grew up with APC.
Yeah. Well, most of the ones I've used when I worked contract for the government were APC. That's all they ever used too. So I think that's
Same here.
the biggest brand out there.
What do you guys
say? That Cyber Power does make decent stuff. I use it for a lot of clients that already had them, and reliability. I would put them the same as APC, but I don't have any personal experience with them.
Well, I mean, the ones I got
one,
are
but-
really
yeah.
small, so they don't hold my Mac Pro really well. So I have two of them. I have one just on my Mac Pro, and the other one's powering my monitors and my modem. So I have those on separate UPCs, So I have the Mac Pro only on the one. It's the only thing on that one.
Yeah.
Now, what do you guys see? Because I see them all the time, and I've almost bought a few, but I'm like, maybe not. I see some that are like sold without the battery or sold with a refurbished battery, or like, what do you guys think about that type of stuff?
Yeah, that's fine. I always buy them without the battery and get my own.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Where do you get your batteries from then?
eBay?
Yeah, you could buy them anywhere.
Okay.
I mean, batteries are pretty reliable. Like Mike was saying, they're pretty much lead acid or gel cell type batteries.
And is there a way to test the unit without a battery? Like, say, I get one from a flea market or whatever, and there's a power socket at a thrift store or wherever. Am I able to plug the unit in just to see if it, like,
It probably
it's
won't power up the actual battery
but
backup
like
side.
a surge light will be on or something?
Yeah, like mine has two different sides to it. One side is the battery backup side, and the other side is just basically surge protector side. It's not.
It depends
Yeah.
upon the unit. If it's a business class unit, it will have one side only. It'll only have the one that goes through the battery. And personal experience, yes, you can plug it in and you can test it just to see if the unit powers up. It'll give you a bunch of errors and things that the battery is completely garbage. Now, a few units
Or there's no battery at all.
Now, if there's no battery, it probably won't power up. A lot of the APCs won't power up at all. They'll be like, nope, not doing it. Now, another brand that I have seen that I've seen a lot of businesses coming up is Trip Light. That's another one. They're pretty
Good one.
Yeah, they're a pretty good brand.
Yep.
I've never had problems with those from what I've seen.
Well, I'll have to search for one, and maybe that'll be a little thing I invest in because I don't need a big one. I just want to start out something with the network attached storage and the modem and the router, just because that stuff seems a little finicky sometimes when I get a brownout. But I usually leave my machines off, to be honest. So thankfully I don't have much running.
Yeah.
But you should. There's another benefit to having a battery other than just.
Oh,
And this
yeah,
is why
yeah,
I
definitely.
prefer
Yeah.
APC and I prefer the trip lights, especially APC. Is almost every APC I've ever come across has line filtering, and that is super important for Macs. Super important, especially iMacs.
I agree.
I agree with you on it. Especially Steve should know about that, plugging an old iMac in and it's sparking up.
Pow.
That was a completely different issue.
So yeah, if you have one, test it out.
Yes.
If you're not sure of your case, back up all your stuff first, power down external hard drives and stuff, and then pull the plug, see how it acts. But
by testing it, you mean just pulling the plug from the
wall,
uninterruptible power supply out of the wall,
and
seeing if the
basically fake a power outage and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to test it.
Well, now you can do it without actually, if you are a little too sketch about just cold shutting your computer like that, you could plug in maybe a radio and some monitors or some other devices. Try to put a decent load on it. Don't plug in your vacuum.
Make sure it will run your system.
Well, yeah, but if you don't know if that thing is just going to go when you pull it, then you might just turn your unit off, have your monitor, have monitors on or something on it so that you can at least see if when you pull it, it doesn't just insta-death.
Yeah.
It might give a false sense of performance, though.
True, it might give false sense of performance, but it's a good first little poll to go, okay, is it at least good enough that it can potentially work?
Yeah.
Well, see, I wouldn't mess around if I had...
Go ahead.
I was about to say, I wouldn't mess around if I had mechanical drives in the computer. If I was all SSD based, yeah, of course you're going to unplug something. There may be some corruption if it just shuts down, but it's not like the platters are going to come to a grinding halt or anything like that.
Well, but Steve, I mean, most newer hard drives, well, yeah, because you have a bunch of older ones, but most newer ones have auto parking heads anyway. So if they start spinning down, the heads go to park, so it's not like it's...
Okay.
It's not like you're going to have a problem, but some of the older, like, SCSI drives and stuff don't have that feature. You have to actually power those.
Damn right they don't.
Yeah, you actually have to spin them down. I think they call spin up and spin down on the SCSI. They actually have that feature on there.
There's that Terminator for it, yeah.
And by the way, a UPS is also good for catching ground problems and other power spikes in your own house. My computer shuts off at least once a week when I power up my work desk. It's I got the microscope, the screen, the power supply, all that stuff is on one power strip. So when I click that on, I hear click, and damn it, I forgot to power off a few individual things, and everything comes up all at once. And it's all on the same outlet in this room. Everything in this room is on the same outlet. So it freaks out.
That's not a good
Living
idea.
the dream.
My Mac still works.
Well, I had a problem in this place. The way they built this damn place was 2 of the rooms, they put us on the same circuit breaker. And the circuit breakers were 15 amp circuit breakers. Okay?
Oh.
Yeah. So can you imagine me? I'm running a Mac Pro, an Xserve, a RAID, and an iMac, and all of a sudden, boom, the circuit breakers trip. Because my wife's in the other room, starts something up, and it's just way too much power because it's... But to be honest with you, 15 amps is not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we lost Grudy. He said he lost everything.
So I
So
just
this is a
wanted
good example of what happens if you don't have your modem and Mac on a UPS.
Oh, there he is. He's back.
Oh, you're funny.
I was just checking my circuit breaker, which is right here. We had the bathroom upstairs. We had work done on it, and they had to turn off the electricity.
And I lost you guys.
You're still there.
No, we still see you.
We're losing each other, I guess. So we
What the
discovered
heck?
that
What happened?
my office, the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room are all on the same circuit,
What?
along with the bathroom.
How many rooms is
Yeah.
that? That's 4
So-
rooms.
Like 5 rooms, yeah.
5.
So my office, the bathroom, some of the kitchen, the ceiling of the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room were all on one
Who
circuit.
wired up that house? Because they should be taken out and
Well-
shot.
Yeah, so the house was built in, 50, 55? But the electrical system was redone in 2001. So what I think they did were like, it's fine. And just like kept the wires where they were. So I'm like, oh,
how
okay,
did
they're
that-
gonna do bathroom work.
how-
This shouldn't affect me too much. I couldn't use my office for a month.
How did that pass code?
I have no idea. All I know is we installed some new lighting, and I'm like, don't put anything else on that circuit. Run a new line right from the circuit.
Yeah, I would be putting like LED bulbs and everything just so it wouldn't draw
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a problem because I used to have a plasma TV. If you had the plasma TV on in the oven, and then you turned the microwave on.
That's okay.
You know what's
In
funny
our
with,
house, ours
Skype?
is weird too. Sorry, go ahead.
What's funny with Skype right now is every time my connection starts dropping out, Steve especially sounds like he's really slurred.
Yeah, you're starting to sound like a
Yeah.
robot now, and you're froze.
You're doing the same thing,
He's still
Rudy. So
there.
it must, yeah,
I lost
it must
you
be
again.
having a weird issue.
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay.
You're good.
Good.
Now you're now you're back.
We heard what you said. Though. I
We
think Skype
have
is
to
just
switch to FaceTime. I'm starting to think this is Skype.
No, because I see everybody else fine.
I'm having a similar issue, but it might just be.
Yeah,
Some
this
late
might be
crap.
Skype.
I'm pretty sure it's Skype.
Yeah, but we're not going to switch.
I'm sorry. What
Hey,
were you
bro.
saying?
My house just consists of our wiring. We actually have a wall that we made the mistake of when we redid our kitchen, putting the microwave on it. So on the other side of the wall is one of my high volume laser printers, and the they're not cable, excuse me. Our router, modem, all that stuff is also on that same plug. And then you've got the microwave and the line of plugs behind our on that one side of the wall. So everything is fine until somebody makes the fatal mistake of plugging in the new wave or a toaster into that wall and decides they're going to try to run they're going to try to make toast and run the microwave. Everything goes down every time. And it's like, the internet's down. What? Somebody blew the fuse.
Yeah, it's a hot
Stop making
mess
popcorn.
here
We need
too.
the internet.
Like when I turn on my fume extractor, one of my lamps one lamp starts flickering.
That's just a
And I
little
turn on
fan,
the
isn't it?
printer, and my printer is a little beefier now than it was before, but we'll get to that later. When I turn the printer on and when it's spinning up, all my lights dim. It's a hot mess in here, but it works. I'm able to do my job, run my computer, servers, everything, and it works. It's a miracle. Now, when I fired up all those excerpts, I had to shut the whole house down, though.
Well, yeah, we're like, you're going to brown out the whole block if you turn on that cluster.
That was fun. I pulled it off, though. I did.
Yes, you did. For about, what,
Great.
10 seconds?
No, a few minutes powering them on one by
The
one.
meter outside is going.
Well, I could go a different route, and a few buddies of mine used to do that. I will not go into specifics, but they used to grow certain plants that required a lot of power, and they would just run a line out the window, find the nearest lamppost, and just tap into that. But,
Wow.
yeah,
Nice.
I don't want to go that route. So.
Good way to electrocute yourself.
And Grudy's
Oh,
back.
you get very creative with that stuff when you have to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So we're going to talk about what's the furthest we've traveled to actually pick up a Mac. And some of the guys in here came up with some pretty good ones here. We're going to go down the list here. We'll start with Jay first and let him talk about his.
For me, it was and this is just going off of what Maps told me. 500 miles from Cincinnati to Rochester, New York.
Wow.
I think I did a video on it. I'm not sure, but I picked up a whole bunch of G4s and a few Xers and stuff from my buddy in February of this year, I think. That's the furthest I've ever traveled to pick up a bunch of Macs. So, and it was worth it.
All right. Let's see. I'm next on the list here. Mine, and Jay's going to sit there and hate me for this one again, was 150 miles for me to go pick up this Mac Pro 4,1 that Jay found for me.
Whatever.
So, and Steve is actually editing his out as we speak right now.
Forgot to do round trip. Forgot to do round trip. I had to double.
Guys, just to let you know, I'm using Pages right now, which is actually
round trip.
which is
No, not
Well,
round
you have
trip.
to go and come
It-
back. I mean,
you
it's part
guys
of
said
the
not
trip.
to use round trip.
one
Yeah.
way,
Yeah,
one way,
round trip.
one
All
way.
right, never mind. I wasn't paying attention.
Neither was Grudy when he did it. So
There.
Well, I thought round trip would sound better considering we do have.
and he's
Yeah,
gone.
what?
We
You
do
gotta
have
go
what?
there and you gotta come back. I mean, it's part of the
Exactly.
journey. Whatever.
Eh,
Well, I
Just
did the
makes Jay
document
sound more
too,
impressive.
So let me just
Yeah.
emphasize this: not round trip.
Just because you
So
guys
I'll
can't.
go and live where I picked up the machine. Okay, yeah.
You guys can't see this in the background, but we're using Pages as our document, so we have it shared, and you can actually see people edit on the fly. So yeah, which is pretty cool. So I'm sitting there watching Steve change stuff, and that's Jay's making it bigger. So yeah. So that's the cool thing. One of the cool features I like about Mac OS. You can't do that with any Windows programs.
It's
Sorry.
on the freaking web browser. What are you talking about? You can't do it on
You
the thing.
cannot edit.
yeah, I'm on a
Documents.
Windows PC.
No.
and I can edit.
You cannot edit Windows documents. In other words, a Word, Microsoft Word, or
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but
okay.
you were talking about the operating system. We're using a web browser thing here. It doesn't
that's
matter what the
fine.
heck you're
Yeah,
using.
but it's still. I mean, the web browser is the same. You're still using cloud, iCloud. So,
you
anyways, mine was like I said for my Mac Pro 4,1. I went to Marana, Arizona. One of the Mac Yak viewers actually came up on Discord with it for sale. I offered him a amount, and Jay got pissed at the amount I offered because he accepted it right away.
That's story again.
So, anyways, Jay, sorry, but not sorry. Let's see, Steve, you're next.
So I took a trip. It could have been much longer. I'm in New Jersey. There was a guy in Connecticut that posted a power computing machine, a Macintosh clone in the box, and it looked in pretty damn mint condition. And I was just like drooling at the mouth looking at this thing. And I knew a friend in Connecticut, and I'm like, hey, how far is this from you? I'm trying to get him to secure it for me. And so I'm like, you know what? Let me just message the guy. Connecticut's not too far away. We'll see what happens. And he's like, oh, yeah, but I can't do it this weekend because I have to drive down to New York to drop off my daughter at school. And I'm like, perfect, that's closer. So I met him 70 miles or 75 miles away in near upstate New York, the White Plains area. And lo and behold, in the back of his car was this beautiful power computing box. And he told me a bit about the machine and everything, so that was cool. But 70, 75 miles around that. I've driven a lot of places to get machines, but I think that was technically the farthest.
All right, Grudy.
Mine is, I'm trying to remember because I don't have the document in front of me. I think it's 308 miles.
308.8
Hey, there you
if
go.
you really want to be precise.
Oh,
308.8.
That's what you have on here.
Okay. 308.8 miles. And this is just not to that exact. So it's a rough estimate, really. But it was from Morgantown, West Virginia to Cincinnati, Ohio. And it was to see Jay, and I did it twice. To pick up Max from him and say hi and visit.
And you
stuff.
still haven't
And
picked
I've
them
gotta
all
do
up,
that.
right?
No. But the nice thing is now Jay lives 100 miles closer to me. So
Yeah, and how has that helped my basement storage situation?
well, that gives me 100 miles less both ways I have to travel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Rocky? You got the least amount of miles here. Come on, that's not even that's not even out of town. Come on.
No, that was okay. It might have been more than that. I'd have to actually check my map. I didn't look at the map. I just assumed 30 miles. No, are you kidding me? I live in Kansas. Everything's far away from where I live.
That's the next town over.
It was probably more like because I drove from, but it wasn't. No, it was only about 30 miles because I drove close to Andover, but I didn't go through the middle of town, so it was a shorter distance. So yeah, it was about 30 miles one way, and I picked up from a business there 2 iMacs, so 27-inch models, a 2013 and a 2011. But I don't really drive very far for computers and stuff. I'm just not a travel kind of person, and it doesn't count when I'm going to visit my grandma and I pick up a machine up there from somebody in the Kansas City area, which is about 200 miles from me, maybe. But I don't drive up there specifically to pick up the computer. I'm driving up there to see relatives, and then I just happen to pick up a computer while I'm there.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're such a saint. You go there for the family members.
Hey, Grandma, I'm stopping by. Why do you have 5 old Mac CRT monitors in your trunk? Never mind that.
Don't worry about that. You didn't see that.
Nothing to see here.
Speaking of which, somebody on one of the Facebook groups, Jay showed us this one in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Oh, if you don't pick it up by Sunday, he's tossing it in the garbage. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff for $100. So if anybody's out there and you live close to,
Yeah, post the link.
if it's in low-end Mac swap, I think LEM swap.
Yeah, Live Swap USA.
He's got monitors. He's got a couple of Mac, older Mac Pros, iMacs without the glass on them, of course, but 27-inch Thunderbolt monitors, everything for $100. Okay, he's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So if anybody's watching this and you live close to there, that is a steal right now. There's a lot of good parts in there, and even if you did get it, you could probably sell them, part them out for way more than $100.
Yeah, it's a good stash, definitely. We'll put. I took a screenshot. I'll put it in Discord when I'm back inside. I had to step outside for a minute because it was getting too hot, but I'll put it on Discord.
Yeah, because that right there. I mean, that's kind of fitted in with this topic, about furthest. So I sent the guy because I will be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the middle of next month. However, they will be in the trash by then. So.
Oh,
Yeah. And the reason we covered everybody on the list, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I came up with this topic is because of a little discussion we had on Discord not too long ago. When someone was looking, and we touched on this on the collecting Macs topic a few shows ago. Someone said that I'm trying to phrase this nicely. Anything over 5 miles was no longer local.
What?
So they refused to go pick anything
Are you
up.
kidding?
That's walking distance, 5 miles.
You know who I'm talking about.
I consider 30
Right?
miles.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't think he watches
I can
the
never
show,
find
though.
anything good. I can never find anything good in my area. The closest recycler is 20 miles away. Dude, that's local. Go.
I wish I had one 20 miles away. My closest one is probably 100.
So, not that you have to follow our insanity, but, for a good haul, 500 miles ain't nothing. It's all about whatever it's worth to you to go and put in the time, effort, and probably money to go pick it up.
Exactly. I agree with
But,
you. 100%.
Expand thy horizons.
Yep. I mean, here's the thing, that 5 miles is local. I'm sorry, but anything that 30 miles for Rocky, that's local for me. I'm sorry, but 30 miles is local.
That's the
Within
farthest I've
100 and some
gone.
miles is usually local for me.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, for me, I hate doing those like the Facebook Marketplace thing where it gives you that radius of where you're searching,
yeah.
because it always includes New York City for me, and I'm like, I'm not paying $18 to get across the bridge to go into New York to pick up a $20 machine. So like, I'm always like trying to like just like spin the little like map locator thing like farther south or west or north of me. But yeah, I mean,
Just
30
take
miles.
just take the radius that you want and pick a zip code that's in the middle of it. That's not
Yeah, I
yours.
usually end up doing that. So it's
What
dangerous though. Then you find
when-
something you want.
When I lived in Morgantown, I traveled to Pittsburgh probably once, maybe twice every 2 or 3 months just to pick up Macs. I got a lot of good deals in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of good deals in that area. It's incredible, and it's just like an hour and a half drive roughly from Morgantown, if that. So
Well,
Yeah, I mean, you have to expand your horizons if you're going to be looking at, trying to find something good. It's not just going to fall in your lap.
exactly. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Well,
And it all depends on what you're looking for and what's it worth to you. I mean, I would not walk to my neighbor's house for a free G5. Screw you. I'm not putting my shoes on to pick that garbage up. But I will fly 500 miles to pick up a stack of G4 MDDs and X-Serves and all that. So it's all relative, of course. But yeah, sometimes you got to put in the work.
I'm trying to find it. He might have sold that stuff. That might be the reason why.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing it
Dude,
either.
it was a good price.
It was a great price. Someone
Hey,
had
if you got a lot of stuff to get rid of, that's the way to do it. Set the price low. Not like those Apple IIs I shared with you guys, 200 each without the disk drive.
Well,
No, thank
the
you.
thing is that he was going to basically throw them in the dumpster by Sunday if he didn't have them gone. So somebody probably said, "Damn, I'm going to go grab those."
Yeah, if everybody watching is on our Discord, I just put it in the weekly show channel on Discord. The screenshot I made earlier. I don't know if it's still available, but you could search for it.
But yeah, I went and I actually commented on there and I said, "Dang, I'll be there in the middle of October." So, however, I think my wife would kill me because we're planning on moving, and if I have that much more stuff, yeah.
Why is there an extra moving truck, honey? Oh, don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that. It's nothing. It's your imagination.
She
That's
opens
gonna
up
be an issue when we move again, because since I moved into this house, my collection has quadrupled at least. So that should be
So-
fun.
My plan is not to move.
So you're saying that 2/3 of the truck is just Max. The rest is all the rest of your household stuff,
Well,
right?
you know how I moved recently. I just went up again to get more stuff. I just finished moving, I think, every one of my Macs except for the parts ones in my garage. And that took like 2.5 trips. Because when I moved into that house, I had just like 3 PCs and like 1 Mac.
Well, yeah. If you go look at your first video you ever did, you only got you had floor space, and then as
Yeah.
it kept going, then you have no floor space.
Yeah, cramming like 60 Macs.
And he's gone.
Yep. Skype doesn't like him. Every time he opens his mouth, he just freezes.
It must be. All right, guys. So we're going to.
Any good distances in the chat? I can't read it right now.
Some people are saying 45 miles is local for him. Mike said 5 miles. There isn't anything 5 miles from me. It's 8 miles just to get gas.
Yeah. My mailbox isn't even in 5 mile
Yeah,
radius.
exactly. Hell, for me to get to work is 5 miles. So I'm sorry, but 5 miles is local.
Yeah, if
I drive
if
35
local
to
is
work
not
one
far
way.
Yeah.
enough, then you're just a lazy collector. You're just lazy.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, it's too expensive to buy it on eBay because the shipping. Well, pick it up locally.
Brock-
Oh, 20
Yeah.
miles is too far away. Well, then you're just
Brock
lazy.
says he'll send a C5 Galaxy to help him move.
I appreciate it. I could use it.
You'd use all that space too, probably. Those things are huge.
Yeah, just moving the X-Serves alone is going to be a bit of a pain.
Yeah.
I had a 27-foot U-Haul on the way here, and it was crap. When I opened the door, my furniture came falling out. So I definitely need something bigger. Well, we had to dodge an alligator on the way out of Florida, so that shuffled stuff around a little bit.
All right, guys. So it's an interesting topic. Jay came up with this, and I thought it was a pretty good one actually. Is Mac Mythbusters? There's a lot of stuff out there that people think Macs are bad or good at, and we're going to try to attempt to bust some of those myths out there. The first one, and this is one of Jay's favorites, I think. Macs don't get malware. And I think we all agree that that is false.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason why I say it's false is because, yes, there is plenty of malware out there. Just because you're running a Mac doesn't mean it's more secure than a Windows or Linux. Even Linux has malware, even though those Linux guys will sit there and say...
I'd say it's more secure. I wouldn't say it's invincible.
Exactly. Linux is also more secure, but it still has malware out there as well. I mean, I'm sorry, but there is not one operating system out there that is totally immune.
Even iPhones can get viruses.
Yep.
It's really hard to do, but it's possible.
It is possible, yes.
Yes.
But
And just a side note, so people can understand, macOS is actually based on BSD, which is a sister OS. It's also based on Unix, like Linux is. So therefore, there you go.
Yep. In fact, there's a lot of Linux stuff you can actually, if you have the source code, you can actually
Someone's
compile it on
stacking
a Mac.
cups.
Rocky, are you
Sorry.
sorting out your beer can collection?
Yeah.
I'm not
The answer
Sorry.
is yes.
So yeah, so if you hear anybody sit there and say that Macs don't get malware, just slap them upside the face and say, nope, you're wrong.
No, don't slap them upside the face. Educate.
That's why you slap them.
After you slap him. The slap comes first. And we have this discussion all the time on the various Facebook groups.
It comes up every
And
other
yes,
week. What are you talking about?
There used to be a lot less malware. Even on macOS 8 and 9, and probably before that, there was malware for the Mac.
Yeah.
Hell, I used to write it in AppleScript. It was that
That's
easy.
why they had Norton for Mac OS back then, too.
Yep.
But yeah.
I got a
it's,
bail,
as-
guys, but
Hey,
I'll
Ken's
catch you
here.
later.
Crazy
See you,
Ken.
Steve.
Just as I'm leaving, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe we're the same person. All
Ah,
right, see you later.
See ya.
see you,
Now,
Steve.
Mac used to be, of course, a lot less popular than PC, so there was less malware for it. But you go to any Starbucks, go to any school, go anywhere in public, and all you see is glowing Apple logos. Well, they don't even glow anymore these days, but you see Apple logos everywhere. And the people that write malware know that there's money to be had there. So, of course, the Mac is becoming increasingly more popular still for malware writers, and it's just going to keep going up.
Yep. I agree.
So that is one myth that's definitely
That's definitely busted.
It's,
Yes.
it's never even been true. It's never been true.
Well,
Never.
I think what was populating that is you ever see those old ads that Apple did with the PC versus Mac? You know, you had the two guys there.
Yeah.
And
That's you.
yeah,
Caught a virus.
that's probably what started this myth. And, you know, to be honest with you, that was BS back then. It's BS today. You know, and so you get all these people that run Macs and don't know anything about computers, and they think, well, my Mac is immune. Are you sure?
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you and I, and I'm going to throw you under the bus a little here, Greg, GT. He's like, oh, I've never had antivirus and I've never had a problem. Well, you don't know, because
But
malware these days
I do
is
run what you suggested every once in a while, every couple of weeks. I run it to check it.
Okay, that's something.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
that's something.
malware these days, back in the day, if you had a PC and a virus, it would destroy your stuff, delete data, brick your system.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. Malware wants to go undetected as long as possible so it can steal the most amount of data from you.
Oh, I know.
So if you don't see stuff happening on your screen, doesn't mean you're safe. So
Like-
you still
like
need
I
to
said,
run
Or
antivirus.
I do run that. I scan it about once every 2 weeks or so. I scan it fully, and keep track of it. But I don't go and visit these weird websites and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm going.
Well, that's a sub myth. And now that you brought it up, I'm going to have to touch on that.
Uh-oh.
You can go to the New York Times and get malware.
That is true.
Oh, yeah.
The most common infection vector is Flash Player and Java exploits.
I don't run Flash Player on my stuff. Sorry.
They mostly come through the ad networks. If you go to any average website, you load at least 18 to 30 different ad networks, and one or two of them are always effective.
Well, that's the reason why I have an ad blocker for one, and I do not run Flash Player. I do not install Flash on my system.
Yeah. If you have Flash or Java, then you're just asking for it.
Well, there is one thing. It is still harder to get a virus, even though it's not impossible, of course. But Colin Mister did have a point. You usually do have to agree to install the virus by typing in your password. So if you type in your password and hit enter, it's your fault.
Exactly.
Most of the time.
But a lot of the malware nowadays that come out, these older people don't know any better, and they sit there and think, oh, it looks legit,
Oh yeah.
and they'll install it. You and I will look at it and they're like, no, you're not going to catch me on this one, And so so. But you get these other guys, and that's the reason why you get all these scammers out there still calling people about, oh, your Social Security number has been compromised, we're going to cancel your Social Security number. I'm like, last I checked, Social Security Administration never cancels Social Security numbers. I don't know where you get your information from.
Yeah, I got that the other day.
I get 2 or 3 of those calls a day. I block them every time, but still they spoof other numbers. Anyways, the next one, Max.
Kind of ties into this.
It kind of ties into this one. That's the reason why I was going to read it next. Macs can't be hacked because of Unix underpinnings. Another false.
Yep. And if I may elaborate.
Go for it.
Ironically, the most easy way for a Mac to get hacked is through... Please, Ken, what are you doing?
What?
Ken is saying all kinds of inappropriate stuff that we have to approve.
I know.
Through malware is typically when a Mac gets hacked. You get infected with malware, the malware will create a backdoor, and a hacker can just walk right in. It's very, very hard, though, if you're not infected with malware, to get hacked. Without malware, it's very, very difficult. It can be done. Mm-hmm. But typically, it's facilitated by some kind of malware.
Well, one of the biggest...
I would agree, except for the fact that you say that it is typically more difficult. However, if we look back through all the exploits that Apple has had to cover and repair, it's could be quite common for those who are catching upon the exploits to actually backdoor themselves into a Mac, just as easily as it would be Windows.
Well, let's talk about this now. iOS. Okay, it has been hacked every version so far ever, okay, because there are plenty of holes still in it. And they basically that's how they jailbreak them. They find the exploits, and that's how they get around it to install other code. Now, if you're running a jailbroken iPhone, and you're probably going to be, I'd say 100 to 200% higher of getting a virus than if you are not jailbroken.
Yeah.
Even though Apple has let some slip through their App Store review process,
there is an SSH exploit that has been around since the original iPhone OS 1.0. That if you're jailbroken and you have an SSH client installed, there is a bot or some kind of scanner online that scans for jailbroken iPhones, and it can hack into your it will into your phone and change. It will warn you that it's been hacked.
Yep.
It's never been used as a bad thing, as far as I know, but it could be. So if you were jailbroken, you need to change your SSH password the second you install something like that. So.
Yeah, it's a service called Shodan, SHODAN. I've been subscribed to that for years because I do a lot of work in security and Mac-related security, and that's a service that takes all the guesswork out. You give a command to Shodan, and you tell it to scan the internet, looking for certain ports or certain protocols or stuff like that, and it will just scan the internet. Literally, it'll scan the entire internet, and it spits out a list of IP addresses and services to connect to. And I did that a few years ago to verify someone else's work. You may have read about it. I forgot which publication had it, but that baby monitors and security cameras were so easily compromised. We did a search on Shodan.
Oh, did you?
And we were looking at people's babies. Like, you just walked right in there with default credentials. You were looking at a baby sleeping in a crib, people having sex in their bedroom, people swimming in the pool out back. It's wide open. And a service like that, because people are like, oh, what hacker is going to find me? The hacker isn't going to find you. These automated services are going to find you because you're connected to the internet.
Anything connected to the internet is hackable. I don't care what you say. The only way for you to not be hacked is for you to have a computer that is not connected to the internet.
Yep.
And you can. It's just a lot harder because you have to do it with physical media.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, anyway, next one.
Next one. Macs are more expensive.
No.
Okay. The initial cost may be more expensive, but over time, okay, that Mac will serve you a lot longer than a PC will. So by the time you buy 2 or 3 or 4 PCs, you're still using that same Mac, and that PC actually became more expensive. Linus, even Linus Tech Tips did a comparison on this. Okay, he did a comparison on building a Mac building a PC with the same parts that a Mac has in it, and he even said they're almost identical in cost. He said, basically, people think because you're paying for all this stuff together, whereas a PC doesn't have a monitor sometimes, doesn't have this, doesn't have that. You know, you got to put different parts into it. But yeah, to me, to be honest with you, the value is in the Mac because it holds its value a lot more than a PC will.
Yeah. And even though people love to cry about planned obsolescence, Mac, apart from certain models like the G5, I mean, people got screwed on the G5, but historically, a Mac has very good macOS support. A wide range of operating systems can run on any given Mac, and on PC, that's typically not the case, or less, without needing serious upgrades.
Yep.
So, I would say that is definitely a false myth.
Exactly.
Or it's a myth.
Well, here's one of the things and I think this brought this one up too, is I see this every other week in Mac Pro users and Mac Pro Upgrade Facebook groups where they sit there and they complain and moan and groan about the price of the new Mac Pro. And
that's a steep one.
No, it's not. And I keep telling people that was not designed for a regular user. And that's what a lot of these guys are. I hate to say it, but we ourselves, all of us in this chat right here, are regular users. We are not professional users. I don't care how you spin it. Okay. Greg Rutke there has almost 5,000 something viewers on his YouTube channel. He makes a lot of YouTube channels. He's not still a professional user. You could spin it any way you want.
I agree.
He's a hobbyist. Okay. That's what we do. We're hobbyists. Okay.
We're talking business.
We're talking businesses like film production, stuff like that, where in Hollywood, where you got folks that are doing movies, multi-million-dollar movies. Okay. Other businesses that run multi-million-dollar businesses that need the server for that, or need the Mac Pro for that purpose or whatnot.
Basically, all the people that are not crying about the price, but they're just waiting for this thing to get large so they can buy 20 of them.
But if you look at the prices of the Macs previously, okay, with the cost of inflation added, it's the same. or more actually. Some of those older Macs cost more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, and it's not that what I'm saying that it's a steep one on the new Mac Pro. It's not because I think that it's not potentially going to be a value, but we don't know exactly what's going to be in it 100%. I mean, yes, we get the specs and stuff that Apple spouts. That doesn't mean that's exactly what's going to drop. So once we see what's actually in it, and we can see a comparison of what that value really is, then it might not be that steep.
Yeah.
But for right now, I mean, that's a pretty high cost point to start off with, and but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But
That's
there
still
are
up in the air.
people that, I mean, I want one. I can't afford it, but I want one. But there's companies out there that literally seconds cost dollars, and if you're rendering a certain project or you're doing whatever is costing you money or making you money, they will not hesitate for a second to drop 50G on that thing once it comes out.
Yeah.
Not a problem. It's a write-off. It makes them money. It makes them money faster. It makes them more money because they can do more. It's a no-brainer.
Exactly.
So,
But I mean, that just kind of ties in this about Mac's more expensive, because to be honest with you, that new Mac Pro, the price point that they put is not expensive for what they're targeting that audience to.
In fact, I disposable income right now, and I've been really, 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 really tempted on buying the base model Mac Pro.
Don't.
Like, really tempted to.
That's
you know you're going to.
Yeah, we know you're going to. So it's we've all told you don't.
Because we on Maciac have we know what happens off camera. We see the text, we see the links. I just bought this, guys. Why? I was tempted. So you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know what's gonna happen.
All right.
I might wait a few years before buying. But
I'll have one. I'll have one. When my kid becomes a certain age, value goes up on the black market, I might just, sell him and get a Mac Pro. But I cannot afford it when it's on launch day. I could just not afford it.
Yeah. All right. So our next myth: Macs don't need defragging.
Balls.
Yep. False.
They don't if they have an SSD, just like a PC doesn't. But
Correct.
if it has a mechanical, you do need to defrag it regardless the OS.
Right.
buys the SSD every once in a while. It's
What?
similar to defragging, only it's not defragging.
What do you do with
what?
your SSD?
Optimize it.
Yeah, but that does a lot of the cleanup work. That's what garbage collection cleanup running and stuff.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about the
Yeah.
disk?
Plus,
and,
Trio takes care of most
You're
of
talking
that.
about disk, using disk tools?
Well, some SSDs come with an optimization program that you can run.
Well, I
to
thought it was like a
optimize
wear
it.
leveler or something like that. Where
Well, with modern day SSDs, you don't really need wear levelers because Trim takes care of all that. It's built into it.
yeah.
Well, to give a little bit of background,
I'll be right back.
No one
All right.
that I know has ever thought of defragging a traditional spinning hard drive on a Mac, because everybody knows where they know it from. Nobody knows, but everybody knows that Macs defrag files for you. That has been the word since day one, since the first beta dropped, and to an extent, that is true. Certain files in certain directories of a certain size or lower are automatically defragged by macOS 10. And that was a cool feature in macOS 10.1. But now, when your average file is 30 megabytes, and all that macOS 10 is focusing on is 5 to 10 kilobyte files, that's not going to do anything for your media storage, for your Final Cut projects, for your MP3s, for your photos. Everything that clogs up a hard drive is not going to be touched by macOS 10. I don't even know if the current version of macOS 10 still does it now that everything is SSD. I don't know. But
To be honest with you, I don't know either. I have never even thought about it, to be honest with you, because I keep all my data on separate hard drives. My SSD is basically my boot drive with all my apps on it. I don't use it as a data drive. You know.
Now, I'm going to clear up a little bit of a myth. Back in the days of the classic Mac OS in the 90s, you could, if I remember correctly, Norton Utilities had built into it a
Speed disk,
defragger. Yep.
I love
And
watching
I've
that
been
thing
doing
go
it
through
since
and
back then.
moving stuff around.
Dude, it was mesmerizing.
Oh yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, even on the old
Yep.
DOS days, you know, I used to use something similar. Norton had the same thing on old DOS, and you'd see stuff moving around, and you see parts of files. I just sit there to watch it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, it was so relaxing
Yeah.
to watch it. I don't know.
Now, I've been defragging
a
since
drive,
back then on a Mac.
Yeah, I have been too, and it's worth it. It's worth it. Now it's a little bit harder because, for example, my Plex drive is 4 terabyte, and that's just one drive. And a week ago, I'm sitting on the couch, I'm watching my show. My show keeps stalling, and Plex is throwing me an error. Says your network isn't fast enough. Every 5 seconds, jitter, jitter, jitter. And then it started saying, your machine is not powerful enough to decode this media. Like, hell no. So I shut it down. I walked to the Mac, and it's a program called iDefrag. It's the master when it comes to this. And I set my Plex hard drive to defrag, and I went to bed. By the time I woke up, it had done 5% of my drive, because it takes a lot of work to defrag a drive that full and that big. So I let it run for, I think, 2 days, up until yesterday. And it was about 80% done. And I haven't had an issue playing back any media since. So performance increases, wear on the hard drive decreases, because it doesn't have to jump all over the place to find your files.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely worth it. Now, 2 things. Never defrag an SSD. And
Agreed.
do not defrag a traditional hard drive that is formatted as APFS, because they don't know how to handle
Well,
that
you shouldn't
yet.
have a spinner as APFS. I don't think you can actually do that.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
You have to for Mojave installs on unsupported Macs and stuff like that for updates.
No,
and stuff.
because my Mojave's on an SSD. So it is APFS on that. But I don't think you can on. I haven't.
Yeah, you can. Open up disk utilities, select the random hard drive, and then check the options.
Yeah,
Okay.
my mid 2007 iMacs formatted.
I wouldn't
APFS,
recommend
the
using
operating
APFS
system.
because a lot of other stuff cannot read it. You know, so I like to use journaled, Mac journaled on mine. So,
And
Yeah,
just
I
to, sorry, go ahead. But just to explain a little bit, elaborate just a little for those, because I know even, and I'm going to expose some people, but I'm not going to name names. I've worked with tech people who have actually said, oh, yeah, I defrag my SSD. And I went, do you know how they work? So
you just decreased the lifespan of that thing is what you did.
Exactly. Yep. Because it moves the files around. But the thing is, with an SSD, every time a little chunk is moved, it actually gets worse because it's not only moving an entire one chunk, but the way the garbage collection, things like that works, it moves entire sections.
Well, if you ever watch Norton,
and
if you ever watch Norton Speed Disk work, you'll see show them that, and it'll show you exactly what it's doing. It moves a chunk here, puts it over here, then moves it over here, then moves it over here, then moves it over here. You know, it's like.
But on an SSD, it doesn't actually move it anywhere because, well, I mean, it moves it, but it doesn't get to choose where it moves it because an SSD, the controller on there handles all the movement of the files. So when you give it a command to, take this chunk of file and move it somewhere, the SSD goes, okay, it takes that chunk plus a little bit more, and it moves it somewhere else on the SSD. It doesn't tell you where it goes. It handles all of that, and it catalogs all of that and just wears on those silicon sections. Cells. So that's why you don't defrag SSDs.
Yeah, don't do it.
But like Rudy said, there are optimization apps and scripts and stuff to do it for you.
Yeah.
On the older Macs, when I started using SSD, there was an app called Trim Enabler because macOS by default didn't do it. And there have been a lot of apps since, but I think everything on the Mac kind of does it for you now. I think it was El Cap or Sierra that started doing it for you.
Yeah,
El Cap
Yeah.
does, but it
It
doesn't
might have been
automatically
Yosemite.
always.
it might have been Yosemite.
Yeah.
You might be right on that. I know that it's supposed to, but it doesn't always do it. But there is a command you can run to enable trim if it's not already enabled, and even if it recognizes it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people on my videos, when I do an SSD upgrade on an older Mac, they're always like, I noticed your trim's not enabled. Well, the SSD I'm installing has it built in. So I could, there's not much of a point. It's not going to slow down.
Yeah. And if
It
you
does
want to
help, though,
confirm
'cause they
if
can
your
work
system
together.
does it, if your SSD even supports trim, because not every SSD supports it. Some favor their own garbage collection protocols. If you go to system information, about this Mac, more info, go to wherever your SSD lives. It could be a SATA card, PCI card. Pull it up, and it'll say right there, smart status verified, trim support, yes. Then you know if it supports it. And then you can look for apps and commands and scripts to see if it actually works. But do not defrag an SSD.
Yep.
Yeah, don't do
All
that.
right, our next myth: Macs don't need cleaning. Bull pucky.
I don't know who even would believe that, to be honest. That's like
Apple. That's
Oh God.
That's the reason why they make their iMacs where you can't open them up.
Yeah.
I did.
Apple has people scared to open their own computers, and what's frustrating is that some of the people that say, "Oh no, don't open the Mac. You have to bring it to Apple." Those are the people that used the G3 and the G4 and the G5 back in the day, and that used to open them all the time to blow the dust bunnies out. And Apple has gotten people scared over the years to open their own machines.
Yeah.
But they need it.
In fact,
definitely
I
need
can
it.
tell you from experience, because you guys watched me do it on live. I did it on FaceTime. I didn't do it live on YouTube or anything. But I cleaned out my 2017 iMac. I basically had to cut the tape off of it, or the sticky, whatever crap they put on there. And it was nasty. I only had it for about 1 year. And the fan was basically had nothing but dust bunnies all in the fan. So you definitely need to do that. And as soon as I put new thermal paste on the CPU and the GPU, man, that thing runs way cooler than what it was running before. I mean, about 20 degrees cooler at max load.
Yeah, and there is a risk when you open up your computer, but there's always been a risk. Whether you had a crappy PC 20 years ago, or a G3, or now an iMac Pro, it's always the same risk. It's not more risky because it's newer.
Yeah, exactly.
So educate yourself on iFixit. They have teardown guides. They'll tell you how to do it step by step, usually way more steps than you need.
Don't pull a Luke Miani.
Exactly.
And try your iMac board.
Well,
you had to mention his name. Sorry.
Why? Damn it. So educate yourself on how your machine is assembled. Get the right tools and take care of your machine. Open it up, clean it out, put some new thermal paste on.
If you do an iMac, this is what I suggest, and Jay does the same thing, is instead of putting the sealant or the sealer back around the display,
which is $20.
Yeah, which is $20. Don't do it. I have black electrical tape holding my screen on right now. It looks janky as hell, but you know what? It works. And now, if I need to open it up again within another year, I can just take the electrical tape off, open it back up, clean it all out, put it back on, put some fresh electrical tape on, boom, I'm back in business. I don't have to sit there trying to cut that glue out like they had in there before.
Yeah, and Brock has the winning suggestion here. Remove all the fans. That way you don't suck in any dust.
Yeah, you remove the fans and you burn up your computer.
You might also have about 10 minutes of use before it catches on fire. At least it won't be dusty.
Exactly.
I mean, back before they started, what was it, 2011 was the last iMac they made that you could actually get into the easy.
Yeah.
but 2012 up, basically Apple has been sealing them up and making them unuser friendly for cleaning.
And unupgradable does not mean uncleanable. You can open up the latest MacBook Pro, 8 screws on the bottom or 10 screws on the bottom. The bottom cover will come off. You can't really
You do need a
much in
special
there, but you
Penelope
can take,
screwdriver, but
on
iFixit.
iFixit or eBay.
Yeah.
But at least you can get in there. And you can take some compressed air, blow out the fans, and do all that stuff. That's all you need.
And while you're in there, if you ever open up your Mac and stuff, I definitely recommend repasting because the paste that Apple uses is garbage.
Yeah. I will take pigeon shit over what they use for thermal paste. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Next myth. RAM from Apple is better than third party.
Now,
No.
Yeah.
before we go into this, once upon a time, Mac specific RAM didn't matter, and that was on like G4 systems. Some G4 systems wouldn't work unless it was Mac specific. I've come into that a few times upgrading older Macs, but now no, it doesn't matter. They're essentially just fancy PCs. They'll work with any real RAM that's, as long as the speeds are compatible, it will work.
As long as it's not OWC according to Jay.
Well,
Not
now
LWC.
you have to be careful when you say any old RAM because actually the Macs do require a certain performance level of the RAM. It has to have a certain performance capability for it to properly function in the Mac. I bumped into that where RAM doesn't work because the performance, the clock speed, things like not clock speed, the CL clocks and stuff were not up to spec,
As long
and it
as
wouldn't
they
work.
match. As long as they match, it doesn't matter if it's Mac compatible or not.
Exactly, and it'll perform well.
I used to work at Apple, and I used to believe all their bullshit. Yep. I used to drink the Kool-Aid. We used to tell people, and we got this came from higher up. Okay, this was the spiel that we were supposed to give people. Apple sells zero fault RAM.
What?
It means it's tested. It's tested harder. It's tested longer, and it's flawless. It's perfect, and because of that, you spend $200 extra for the same amount.
Yeah.
The Kool-Aid wore off, of course. You know better over the years, but you could go Kingston, Crucial, whatever other brands, not OWC, are out there, and it'll be exactly the same. If it happens to be true, which there's no proof of, Apple's RAM will last you 200 years, and the Crucial RAM you buy will last you 100 or 99 years.
Ooh, I think
either way, it's going to outlast you.
I think we're going to have flying cars by that time, right?
Yeah. So, bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next myth. Batteries don't need to be calibrated. And that's a big false.
Yes, it is.
Apple and a lot of these other companies would have you believe that lithium-ion batteries do not need to be calibrated. That is total horse pucky. I won't say the other one here, but
dude, we're not monetized. Just say horse shit.
Yeah.
Horse shit. Anyways, back in the day, we used to have nickel cadmium batteries. Okay, those things were notorious for having what we used to call a memory on them. So if you used half of the battery and then you charged it up, then it would hold a memory saying, "Oh, I only got half the battery left." So it will only show half the battery. So in order to actually get the full battery usage, you had to use the whole battery before you charged it and then recharge it back up, and then you'd get the same amount of battery. Then we came out with nickel metal hydride batteries, which didn't have a memory. However, they would heat up and they would just die all of a sudden. I mean, it would be like, boom, they would just die. It would not be a gradual, I'll start losing charge and stuff. It would just be like, boom, it's gone. Then we came out with lithium-ion batteries. Well, Apple has a little, I think, piece out there that I've read before where it says you do not need to calibrate them, which is total BS because every once in a while on your iPhone, if you ever notice it start to go down on your battery, or even on MacBook, okay, you want to let it die all the way down and then give it another full recharge up.
Or just follow Jay's
Exactly.
handy guide.
Jay has a guide on House of Moth that actually works. I actually did it with an old G4 PowerBook that I have, and I actually got it to go about another 5 or 6% on the battery. It only has about 38% on the battery, but when I first started, it only had about like 25 to 30%. So I did get another 8% by using Jay's method.
I apply it to every battery, including the latest, like my iPhone or the new MacBook Pros. I calibrate them, and it works.
Yeah.
It really works, and it applies to everything I I personally collect.
Yeah. Now I don't.
So that's G3.
I
and
don't
up.
say you have to do that when you first buy a product, because if you charge it all the way up, it's going to be good for 6-7 months or so. But once you start seeing problems with the battery life, then you might want to look at recalibrating.
Yeah, and always keep an eye, whether it's brand new or old and used, always keep an eye on your battery. It's token up battery. So as soon as performance starts to drop, you'll know it.
Exactly.
Well, it's like, even with, for instance, my iBook G3, it's not plugged in.
And I hear it bong.
It's powered on.
There might
I
be a
bought
wire
this
behind it. I don't believe it.
Put a hula hoop like
It
Steve
might
Jobs.
be in your
you know?
hand.
Yeah. But this thing I bought, he said the battery was totally dead on it. It's not. In fact, even though it was very dead, it was flatlined. I just had it plugged in for about an hour or so. It started charging. And this battery is good for over 2 hours.
Have you
It runs
calibrated
great.
it?
Yeah, I calibrated it and everything. It
Nice.
runs great.
Yep.
Yep.
Nice.
So yes, you can get dead batteries to come back to life if you know what you're doing with them.
Yep.
Now, if they're
I actually did that on the MacBook Pro. The first generation MacBook Pro I sold last week, the battery was dead. And I think I had to leave it on the charger overnight, and the next morning it had 1% charge. So I fired it up, pulled the cord. I got about 5 minutes out of that 1%, so I knew that the cells were still decent. It was just the chip, the calibration was off. So I calibrated it, and I got it back to 82%.
Wow.
And I didn't do any more calibration because you have to do a few sometimes, because I sold it. So I told the guy, like, hey, I calibrated it to the point of what it is now, but you should do some more to get more life out of it. That was over 10 years old battery. It was the original battery.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Rocky, this battery in this thing's from, I think, 2002.
Jeez.
Yep. Take care of your stuff. It'll work miracles.
oh yeah,
So that myth is
that
busted.
myth is busted. Yes. Next myth: you can't.
Now, conveniently, we make the topic, so we only pick myths that we can bust, of course.
Well,
Makes us look better, though.
there is actually one on here that actually we're coming to some that we're not going to bust. So the next one: you can't run Windows programs on a Mac, and that again is false. There are several different virtual machine programs out there. Parallels and VirtualBox are two of the ones I've used before. That VMware is another one. But you can actually run Windows programs in your Mac OS as your. It looks like it's right there in your Mac OS, and you could drag and drop.
There's even
stuff.
a virtual wine for Mac, which will allow you to run some Windows programs natively.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a little app called Crossover. There's a
Yeah. So, you hear that, but here's the thing. On a Windows machine, you can't run Mac OS programs on it.
Nope.
It doesn't work the other way around. So that's another reason why Macs are better than PCs, because there's more versatility with a Mac than a PC.
And let's not forget a boot camp.
Exactly.
Yeah, James also mentioned Play on Mac. I haven't heard that one.
That sounds like a porn.
Yes, Play on Mac is actually what it is it's like it gives the ability to run games that you normally couldn't on the Mac that come from other
so like
platforms.
The one that allows you.
Yeah. He froze up there, but
I lost him again.
Yeah.
Dude, his poses when he freezes are just amazing.
Yeah, I know. Like that.
And it's
Oh,
different on my
someone
screen
capture
than it
that.
is on
Someone
the stream.
capture that. Hurry up. Screen capture that. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
You hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. So it's
I got
like the thing for Linux, so you can run Windows games and Steam on Linux. Okay.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
It works really well.
So basically, Duke, the fat cat, said all his friends complain that they can't run Windows programs on a Mac, and both he and Jay said, they need some education. They need to watch our show.
But you can also just boot camp it.
Yeah, you can boot
That's
camp
what I
it. It's
do.
right there. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what's even
Dude,
funnier?
Greg here spends half his day on boot camp doing his PC game.
Yeah. Well, that's
On the Mac.
that's one of the things that does run very well under Windows is games run better than Mac. So I mean, it's just nothing you can do about that. So
Currently, my 2,1 Mac Pro is over in the studio that's being built next door, running Windows, doing a bunch of number calculations and crunches.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Boot camp.
but that's just some of the things you could do. Boot camp, actually, this is another thing I don't know a lot of people know about Boot camp, but if you run VirtualBox in your Mac OS and you run Boot camp on another partition, you can actually use that Boot camp partition as your virtual machine in VirtualBox. A lot of people don't know that.
Yep.
Didn't know
You
VirtualBox
can
did
do
that.
in Parallels too.
Yeah.
And Parallels.
You can do
Parallels
in
does that
Parallels,
too.
Yeah, Parallels I knew about. I didn't know that was a thing in VirtualBox.
The only problem was when I finally did the trial version of Parallels, I couldn't get any of the darn links to go away when I decided to not use Parallels anymore.
Well,
and it screwed up my installed Windows also.
the difference between
Oh, nice.
Parallels and VirtualBox is VirtualBox is in a straight virtual, it's in a box itself. You can't drag and drop stuff between the two operating systems. Whereas Parallels, you can drag and drop stuff between the programs. Yeah, whatever. So,
Are you seeing the Discord?
If you're on Discord, then you'll know what this is about.
oh, I'm not watching
We
Discord.
got a nice collection of screenshots
Oh,
going
oh,
of Bill's and Greg's.
That's some good ones. All right, next one. And this is probably going to be our first one that we can't bust. Macs are better than PCs. That is absolutely true.
Well, according to Jay. it
No,
is.
according to me,
He's
I'm the one who wrote that one.
No.
I
You put
wrote
that
this
in.
one.
I don't
You're
even
kidding
consider
me.
it. I don't even consider it a myth. That's just
Fact.
what kind of world are you on?
It's a fact.
It's literally just a use case thing. What you need, if it works for you, it works for you.
Okay, I'm talking about reliability issues, okay? Macs, on the long run, are probably way more reliable than any PC out there. And we talked about this earlier about the...
Prior to 26
Huh?
or prior to
No,
2017.
even,
Yeah.
I sit there talking...
Oh, Rocky, don't give me
Okay.
that. Your stream failed because Windows forced updates down your throat as you were streaming.
Yeah,
This is one
exactly.
example.
That's what I'm talking about. Windows forces updates on you.
But if you're talking about reliability now, you got to be careful because Apple started to screw that up pretty heavily starting in about 2017. Somewhere in the
Apple is not-
2016, 2017.
Mac OS is not as reliable as it used to be, but it's still undisputed king.
It's better than Windows.
Yes, I would still
Way
agree with
better
that.
than
Mac
Windows.
OS, yes. Mac hardware, however.
No, even Mac hardware's...
Now, would Mojave or Catalina stack up against Windows NT? Probably not.
I even say hardware is better than most PC hardware because it does last a lot longer.
Because Apple will choose the top of the line hardware and put it in the top of the line stuff.
Yeah, like zero fault RAM.
It's all debatable. It really is.
Well, I'm going to say that basically they're better than PCs. That's just my opinion. You guys can agree to disagree.
Yeah, Brock nails it. He said Tide Pods if you think Windows is better. It's true.
I didn't say Windows is better. I want that noted.
Well,
I'm gonna go to audio only for
Okay,
a second
well-
because
Come
it's
on.
getting way too hot in
to
here.
be honest with
Gotta
you,
go out.
Linus Tech Tips came out with a new video with 10 reasons why Windows is better than Mac or Linux. And 9 of them were wrong, except for one. And the one that I thought that he
I
had
haven't
right
watched it
was
yet.
games.
I haven't either.
Okay, was gaming. Gaming on a Windows PC, yes, is better than on a Mac. I got to give that credit.
Well, it is now. It used to not be.
It's way better right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't one of the selling points of Catalina that it can run iOS games and all that stuff?
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't even
I'm
care.
with you on that one.
To be honest with you, I don't like the idea that Catalina or that Mac and iOS are merging. I'd rather them be separate. To be honest with
I
you,
agree.
Hey, you might be able to jailbreak your Mac, get around the T2 chip.
with the T2 chip. Yeah. Okay, last myth we got tonight. Mac or wait a second. Why is that on here twice? Oh,
What?
oh,
Because you
never
and
mind.
Steve were typing at the same time.
No, he wrote in here Macs are better PCs. Okay, there's a difference here.
Yes.
Macs
Very
are better PCs,
I wrote
and that is true too because, to be honest with you, Windows on Boot Camp runs 100 times better than on a regular PC.
Well, how many
Yeah, it
magazines
flies.
over the years
Even on
have
the
tested it
oldest
and said the
Intel
best
Mac.
laptop to run Windows is the MacBook
Yeah.
Pro?
Yeah. It's if you even look up online, people reviewing Windows on Macs always praised it, especially when it
Even
Boot Camp
Linus.
first came out.
Even
And
Rock.
it's like I've got a 2006 MacBook Pro, the first one. Are you laughing at Discord again?
No.
But anyway, the first MacBook Pro with the Core 2 Duo, the Core Duo in it, the 32-bit one. Even though you have to hack the Boot Camp driver some, it runs Boot Camp in Windows 10 beautifully, and it's really quick. You know, a few driver things you have to get over, but once you get all the drivers working better than a comparable PC from that time period with the same CPU in it, it just works better.
Yep,
It just works.
it just works, as Steve Jobs says. Used
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah, if he says it now, I'd be kind of freaked
Yeah.
out, to be honest.
Well, he could say it if you play a video of him saying it, you know.
Oh, well.
All right, guys. So that pretty much covers all our myths. Anybody out there in the chat have any myths that they have heard that we might be able to bust? I think we covered pretty much everything that we could think
I
of.
think so too.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So Rocky just left, and we're coming up to a topic.
I didn't leave. I'm still
Okay.
here.
Well, we're coming up to a topic.
I'm just checking where my daughter's
Oh.
at. She's on her way
It's
back
not
from the
his
track
top.
meet.
Well, it's your topic.
It's like we're getting down to the point where there's only 2 people on the screen. Come on.
I know.
Dude, you haven't been here in like 4 months. You do not have the right to say anything.
Hey.
All right, so let me get the overlay up here. It's been a while since I had to change. Quick printer update. So I guess on MacYak number 12, Rocky explained the benefits of using a laser printer over inkjet. So Jay, take it away.
Yes, and all you're going to see is a black screen because, you know, I'm outside cooling off. But after that episode, I went to my recycler and I got a laser printer because it was time for me to buy ink for my HP printer. And at $80 a cartridge, an XL cartridge black is $80. And I need a color as well. I just wasn't going to do it. So I went to the recycler. I said, I need a laser printer. He's like, well, follow me. Took me to a separate room. There's like 6 million printers because nobody wants them. Pick one. I said, well, I don't know anything about it apart from what Rocky told me. So just give me something. You want color, black or white? So start off with black and white. So I came home with a black and white fax printer. It still has the horn on it and everything. It is that old. He gave me a brand new cartridge, and I paid $20. And I've been printing with that for, I don't know, how many months?
A few months, yeah.
Yeah, it's 5
Been a
months
while.
maybe more. And I will never go back to inkjet. We love the laser printer. It's the ink never dries out. I'm done spending money on ink, and it prints everything razor sharp.
Well, that's
Text, even images.
because a laser printer is dry powder is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
burning
if
It's not
Paper.
burning. It's basically what it's doing.
it's melting it on.
No, the laser
Fuses.
the
Well,
laser basically ionizes the paper, and then the ink or whatever you want to call it,
No.
no, it
Nah. Whoa,
charges
whoa,
the
you got
roller.
that backwards.
It charges the roller.
Yes.
charges the roller.
The roll. Well,
See, I
Okay,
actually
hold on.
listened to Rocky when he was
Yeah.
educating us.
where laser comes from is it uses a laser to etch what's going to be written onto the photo imaging drum, which then gives it a charge where it's etched by the laser giving it light. And then what happens is you have a developing roller that goes and charges the paper in the opposite charge. And then as it rolls, the roller that has the image etched into it with the laser then picks up the toner from the toner cartridge because it's charged. The toner has I believe it's a negative charge, and it attracts it. And then the paper having its charge will then pull the toner off as it rolls around, on the drum. And then it goes through a fuser, which heats it up and it fuses it to the paper.
Yeah. But the laser
Yep,
doesn't heat up the paper, Greg. That's what I was trying to say. Is the laser doesn't do anything except
Well, yeah, 'cause it
except
burn.
basically.
That's how you end up with a house fire.
Those suckers do get hot, though.
They do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, mine's always
especially
got
when they're
steam
warming up, they
rolling
take a
off
decent
of it.
amount of juice.
Yes, they do.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. The older
But
ones.
yeah, my wife, she's a graphic designer. She prints a lot more now that we have the laser printer, because before it was like, ooh, ink is dried out. She really needed to print something, had to run down to Kinko's, get it done. And now it's all black and white, but it prints everything we need. We print a lot more now because we can whenever we need to. And our next printer will be a color laser printer, because we're never going back to inkjet. So if you have a printer, you're done spending obscene amounts of money on ink cartridges, go back, check out episode 12, and get all the info you need, and just go to a recycler and pick one up. It can be a crappy one. Even the laser printers from 20 years ago still print laser sharp. You got to test it, of course, make sure it's not worn out. But
my dad kept his LaserJet 4s in service in his office for 20 plus years.
Make sure that they still make the cartridges for it though too. So.
Well, no, you can have them refilled by companies locally, even.
If you have that in your town.
As long as you have the cartridge, you can have it refilled.
yeah, and
But,
don't be a noob like I was. I was like, oh, there's lines on the paper. Let me blow it out. Yeah, you do not blow out
No.
a LaserJet cartridge with compressed air. It gets really messy really
Back
fast.
of LaserJet 4s from 1994 from HP. They still work like they were brand new. You know.
Yeah, so definitely check it out if you're on the fence about it or you just want to educate yourself. Rocky did a lot of homework for that episode. I think it was 12, right? Episode 12.
That's what
That's
you
what's on
said.
the
That's
paper.
what you said on the paper here. So.
If I said it, it must be true. So check it out. And, definitely worth it. And that concludes my update.
Yeah. All right. So Steve isn't here, but we'll just go over the history, news, and rumors. We don't have any news right now.
I put those in.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
September 19th. Okay, we got three different things. 1988, the Macintosh 2X was released.
Wow.
In 20.
Now, it would be nice to have Steve and Mike here to talk a little bit about their computer.
I know, because I don't know anything
Yeah.
about it either.
I-
Oh, Steve's here.
He heard his name.
Hey, Steve. Perfect.
What happened?
We're talking about the news and rumors. Macintosh 2X being released today.
That is freaky.
Hold on, let me get you back on here because right now you are not showing.
Just the last few minutes, I thought I'd just say hi. I was watching you on the Apple TV for a minute talking about laser printers. So,
All right, there you go. You're
Yeah.
back on now. So, what's the deal with the Macintosh 2X? Because you know more about it than we do, there, Steve.
what's the thing is, I never had a 2X. I only had a 2CX and a 2CI. But the 2X, I believe, came out after. I think it was the first one that came out after the Macintosh 2. So it's one of those very large ones with a dual floppy drive base. And so it still had all the NuBus slots and everything in it. I'm actually going to cheat and look up at the Wikipedia page because I get those models mixed up.
But you're not an expert on what?
If I don't own the machine, I don't know it inside and out. So
And this is the day
that's my
Steve got
excuse.
fired from Mac. Yay.
Bye, guys. Looks like the oh, okay. The model was introduced as an update, replacing 16 megahertz CPU to. Oh, okay. So basically, integrated FPU on the board for the processor, and bigger hard drive. 800K drive on the original 2 was replaced with the 1.4 megabyte super drive. Okay, yeah. And so, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so this was the first model to actually have a super drive standard. So all the other Macs before that was 800K drives. So that was pretty neat. So
And we're talking about floppy drives, not optical
yes, not the optical drive that Apple used to call a super drive that was the DVD burner. No. But yeah, this thing is a beast. If you ever see pictures of these things, excuse me, somebody built a couch out of them. That's how large they
Wow.
are. Yeah, and it did not have onboard video, so you had to supply your own video card with a lot of these Macs at the time. So, yeah, I mean, they're pretty beefy machines. You could get them either with dual floppy drives or with the hard drive if you had the capability to do so. Yeah, I mean, if you ever see them, pick one up.
Who's in their car?
Whoa.
That's me. Sorry.
Well, that's Rocky. But Greg, I gotta say, my 3-year-old son knows how to handle a spinner better than you would.
And believe it or not, I got this for free. I think it was yesterday from a local computer store. I stopped by in there because I hadn't been in there in years. I'm like, "Oh, you're selling fidget spinners?" He's like, "No, we're giving them away." I'm like, "I'll take one."
That's a millennial attention span keeper, you know.
Yeah. This definitely helps with my ADD. And yes, I do have ADD.
So I have actually the Macintosh 2CX, which is just the compact version of the 2X. So it leaves some of the NuBus slots in there. They don't have the expandability, but it's pretty much the same, give or take some little bells and whistles.
All right, next thing in the history, news, and rumors on this date, the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus released. I think Rocky has one of the. Well, no, you have the 6S, right? Rocky.
I have the original 6, and I upgraded to the 8. So that's how long I hold on to my phone.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Rocky's on current.
And as of today, iOS 13 for the iPhone only was released. iOS 13 for iPad will be released later on this month. First time
And I gotta say that when the iPhone 6 came out, I got one, and that's when I decided I hate the bigger phones.
I actually like the bigger phone.
I never tried. I'm tempted because the dual camera on the 8. I was like,
Well,
I never went.
Yeah, I had the 6, not the 6 Plus. So
yeah, same
it
here.
It was a little bit better. You could actually still reach the screen most of the way until the Plus model. The Plus model you couldn't.
That's when they introduced the reachability thing. You could double touch the home button.
Reachability is really annoying.
Speaking of reachability, on the iPhone 10,
I agree. I hate reachability.
without the home
turn it
button,
off.
that is a pain in the butt to get reachability to work on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
it drives me crazy because I got so used to using reachability, and now I'm like swiping down apps instead of actually trying to get reachability to go down.
If you don't have your finger in the right spot, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think reachability.
See, I don't understand the use of reachability because I've honestly never used it.
I
I've never
used
had
it
a problem
all the
reaching
time.
things on my Plus.
Yeah, it was good when you had one hand and you were just trying to reach something at the top of the screen and you couldn't. Let's say your other hand was busy and you couldn't just
What was
your
it busy
phone.
doing?
So I did it a few times.
Maybe I just am used to holding it in a way that I can always reach everything.
You got your other hand inside of a quadrant.
Well, maybe you have like extremely long thumbs, like
Abnormal person, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sitting here right now, and I can touch the top of my screen, but the way I hold it is I center my thumb in the middle of the screen. Like
Are you using the plus or the regular?
Don't use the phone while you're driving.
I've used a plus since the 6 Plus.
Crash.
Yeah. All right, guys.
And by the way, for everybody wondering, we have a contest. I'm officially announcing it now. Post the funniest freeze frame of Greg or Rudy on Discord.
I'm gonna win this.
I don't know. I got him when the spinner flew in his face.
I can't help the fact that my internet keeps dropping out here. It still sucks here.
Well, you need to move.
You and Greg switch places. The two Greg swaps.
All right, guys. So the next, or next to last topic here. Hold on, I gotta pull it up here. Slacking a little bit. What were they smoking? I came up with a pretty decent one. I think Jay, like he said on here, might agree with this one. So I'm gonna post the link in the chat here, and it's a. Is it too big for the damn? No. All right. Why is it not wanting to? Okay, there we go. Go ahead, click on that link. That is a Power Mac G4 MDD, dual 1.25 gigahertz, 2 gigabyte, includes 20-inch studio display, keyboard, and mouse. Guy wants $700 for it.
That's a steal
What?
with a darker spot about half an inch on the monitor. It's a steal for $700.
He's being sarcastic.
I was gonna say. Well, look at the. Well, even the.
Of course, I've been known to spend more money on MDDs and those displays than most, but even for me, this is a little steep.
Yeah. So I try to go and I try to find different ones. I wanted to look for a G4 this time, and this one popped up on there. It was actually the first one that popped up, and I was like, yeah, it's fully working. OS update it to 10.5.8. So yeah, I'm reading the more. He doesn't have a lot of description in here. Comes with the scroll mouse, which basically looks like a Mighty Mouse, I think, if I'm looking at the picture. Yeah, it's just a Mighty Mouse. Apple power cord. That really helps out right there. I mean, it's not like you got to use an Apple power cord, right?
Yeah.
It adds to the value.
That's it. Steve Jobs licked that power cord.
Yes, he did.
He must have.
A few light scuffs around. She's been well taken care of. Yeah. For $700, I'm thinking that's about $550 too much.
Oh, yeah. Realistically,
more than that, too much.
Yeah.
An MDD with those specs is not worth more than 20, 30
Yeah.
bucks. Realistically.
And then the display is probably
I might do a
another
max of
20,
50.
30. The keyboard's only about $5, and the mouse is probably worthless. I mean, those are a dime a dozen. You can still get those pretty cheap. Anyways.
Yeah, and why does he assume gender? Why is it a she?
The keyboard's pretty clean though. It's in a lot better shape than the one I'm looking at.
Dude,
right now.
I have cleaner keyboards.
Dude, Jay's keyboards that I got from him were cleaner than that. And they were dirty.
Yeah. But it looks like it's all white at least.
Well, this one right here that I got from Jay is all white.
Oh,
I didn't
no,
have
in
to
this
do
picture,
anything
it's
except
definitely yellow.
clean it, wash it off.
Yeah, it's pretty darn yellow.
What, this one?
No, I'm talking about the one with
Oh.
the picture on the ad.
Well, 5 seconds ago, you said it was
Yeah.
white.
Well, I was looking at the one with the flash on it. The one without the flash on it's very yellow.
Yeah, the very first picture. Yeah.
Either way, it's not worth $700.
No, not in any way, shape, or form.
So, our question to you guys out there is, what was this guy smoking?
Blown
Well-
cashew fumes.
Yes, that's
What's
a good
that?
one.
Blown what?
Blown cashew.
Well-
Ah, there we go.
I would have to go with that. Yeah. Or maybe
let's
some
see.
of that
I
burnt
agree.
paper from a laser printer.
That could be too, the toner from her laser
what?
printer. That's it.
He's shaving off the yellow from that keyboard and smoking
Yeah.
it. That's what he's
Oh,
doing.
well,
There you go.
that's a few good options right there.
That is true. All right, guys. So we're about done with tonight. We're going to go ahead and throw the shameless self-promotions out there. Anybody got anything they want to go ahead and put out there shamelessly?
I'm not banned on Twitch anymore, so I'm gonna start streaming again.
Yeah,
Stop
you
leaving
got-
your
you
fly
got banned
open,
for what
so you don't
again?
get banned.
Porn?
We don't want to know.
He got banned for less than some thoughts out there get banned for. So come on.
Yeah.
Or don't get banned for. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway,
I have
It's
nothing
worth it.
going on. It's same mess, same projects, same workload. So whenever I get to stuff, I'll get to it. I've a long list of ideas and stuff that I want to do, but there's no time frame.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm going to start videos back up, hopefully starting next week. I still don't really have a studio, but I have some time to film
You
now.
better, so I'm going to have to start
Um,
pulling my Patreon funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, put that into me.
Also, don't forget, if you guys aren't subbed to either Steve or me,
Or Mac Yak.
please do that. Or Mac, yeah. Well, that's
Or
kind
Mike's
of
backpack.
But Steve's getting really close to 1,000. I want to see him hit 1,000, and
I have a giveaway I'm gonna do soon, so hopefully that'll boost
Awesome.
things
Hey,
up.
we need to get 1,000
I'm about-
subscribers at Mac Yak so we can start monetizing so we can get to
Yeah.
pay for our get together.
So Steve,
It's all
you
the same
get your
circle.
Right.
subs over to Mac, yeah.
No.
And I'll throw in a giveaway
try
too.
But
Uh-oh.
I'm about 25 away, I think, now from 5,000 subs now, so I'm getting
Let's see.
excited over that too.
So what are you going
Should
to
be.
give away there, Jay?
I'll give away a puck mouse or something. But when I reach 1,000 subs, I will unbox my sealed new inbox G5.
I want to.
Oh,
You have a
crap, that'll be
sealed
cool.
Oh, that you want to show off over to get all your
Yes.
crap out of my basement? I
Yes.
gotta pay you to get here. I see.
You
Or
gotta-
we
you
can
gotta bring
unbox it
that
the
to the
next
LAN
time
party.
I come by.
You.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is what you do. We raise the funds on MacYac to all meet up. You bring that, you game on that brand new G5.
Watch it won't even work, won't even power up because all
I'll
the
do it.
caps are all leaking all over the place. The battery that's in there is
Hilarious.
already leaked.
No, I'll probably do that when I hit 1,000 subs.
That'd be
That's
awesome.
going to be a long time from now, huh? You're only at what, 100?
Yes.
Oh,
100,
don't-
187, I think.
Don't
Dave,
doubt
send
the
your
YouTube
subs over
algorithm.
to Jay.
Yeah, I'll just hit that magic
Hey,
button.
I haven't even reached 100 on my channel yet, so I can't even complain.
You don't put any content
That's
on
true.
there.
But I don't have
Kinda goes
I don't have
hand in hand.
Patreon either, so I'm not.
Hey, I pay you on Twitch.
Yeah, you pay me what Prime pays you, so it's zero. You're not
You
spending
get
any
money out of it, don't you?
I get money from Twitch Prime.
Yes.
There
So
you
what
go.
you complaining for? Yeah. Wow, so
I'm
ungrateful.
telling you.
Seriously, man. These millennials.
No. I'm not even nowhere near a millennial. Sorry, I'm the oldest one here, so.
That is true.
All right, guys. So just let you guys know.
Hey,
we
I
do
didn't.
have.
I didn't
Oh, go.
do my stupid
Go
plug.
ahead.
Sorry.
I'm still working on this crummy Quadra that I cut my finger on. Hopefully, I can fix the darn thing because I pretty much got it not new in the box, but it came with the box and most of the accessories. So I'd really like to show this thing up and running. I recapped it. I got some more work to do on it, so that's what's sort of putting a snag in some of my stuff. But hopefully, something soon. That's it.
All right, guys. So
That's all you
we're
need.
at the end of our show tonight. So make sure you go and like and subscribe, both YouTube and Facebook. And also we have a Twitter. So go ahead and follow that because that
And Discord.
And Discord. Yep. Well, I'm getting to that. You're jumping ahead of me there, Rocky.
You were jumping ahead. I just saw an overlay on the
Well,
screen.
I was until Steve said he had some more to go, so I had to jump back. So, anyways, make sure you go to our Discord. We do have a pretty extensive Discord that's managed by Rocky. We do have a lot of channels on there. We do have a lot of discussions. We do have some voice channels. So sometimes we hang out after the show, and you can talk to us there. Make sure you check out the description info and the links. All of our links to all of our channels are down below in the description, so make sure you check that out. And spread the word and tell your friends about us. Make sure you tell them we need to get those subscriptions going. We're at 333 subs right now. We need to hit 1,000. We might decide to give something away. We might all decide to chip in and give one thing away each to get you guys to get up to 1,000.
No, we're just going to pick
Terminator.
something random out of Grudy's collection.
There we
that'll
go.
be the giveaway.
Or even Steve's collection. Steve
Actually,
has more.
I'm actually considering doing
God.
a small giveaway on my channel very soon, just for the heck of it. But we'll see.
All right, guys. So that's the end of the
Forward to it.
show tonight. So we'll go ahead and catch you guys later. And you guys have a good evening.
See you on Discord.
See ya.
Yippers. See ya.
Yeah.